around 16 will have the same rule. Either rain protocol or not rain protocol.
Is your Congress
The teammates could have another rule, but the TOs and the staff will inform that this well ahead of the race. We're doing the rain protocol, and we're not doing the rain protocol. So it could be different for different categories, but they will always have the same rule within the same category for that round. For the next round, it could be another rule depending on the weather. Of course, all of us want to 100 meters.
What's the rain protocol?
All right. Can someone raise a hand? Martial? Marshall, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you. They can hear. They can hear now. Apologies for that with the audio. You all have the agenda, so I don't need to show it again. But I will go through it. So, approval of the minutes of the 10th Congress. Does someone want to second that? Approval of the minutes of the 10th Congress. Second. Those in favor? Everyone needs to vote yes or no. No? Okay. They're approved. Annual accounts. James did comment for British Optical Sports. Looking at the chat, there's questions about approving the accounts. So as I've said, this is now the third Congress in a row I've said this. They reflect the actual accounts. They're audited by an accounting firm. And I do not expect to be reimbursed. I would like to be reimbursed, but I didn't set out to make money or even get money back. I just want it to be on the record. And that's the purpose of having the P&L published properly. My accountant basically said, you can't hide this. You have to be transparent with it. So I am. Does that answer your question?
It does. I understand the point. For me, though, it's obviously the expenditure, the expenses. We're all volunteers, all have expenses. It's fair that they're covered, and you'll go one step further where you're not even getting them paid back. We completely understand. We're very grateful for that. It's still, for me, the point of reimbursement for your time. Essentially, I know that you're saying you won't get it paid back anyway, and it's more for recognition. But I think we're all in the same boat in that sense, and then also it's being backdated for previous P&Ls as well. It hasn't been before, so.
Well, understood, but there's no invoice for it. I'm not asking for it.
For me, though, it still creates a liability which our governing bodies time, even if we weren't getting paid, it still creates a liability on the organisation. So that's why we would be comfortable voting in favour of that.
Sure. I think there's actually a practical solution. On dissolution, disappears. There's no liability. And that will be addressed because it's inevitable. So the organization, it's an accounting thing. I guess it matters for my accountant. And there's no invoice, and I'm not going to do it. I've told you that. I'll tell you for the third time, I will not invoice for this. It's not a liability if it's not actually on the books for something that's been invoiced for the organization. It's just not. But then there is a difference, by the way. You didn't quit your job to do this. I quit my job to do this. So let's just leave it there. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So anyway, let's leave it at that. Understood, acknowledged. I do understand your position, and that is fair. So the question becomes, well, it's not a vote and it's not a ratification. It's just on the agenda. So it's not something to disapprove. It's just there. They are the books. Yeah.
Previously, we've approved the accounts.
They're presented by the treasurer. Yeah, they're presented.
Is it okay? And just again, I do recognise
it's on the record, so it's now, yeah.
In terms of the minutes, in terms of the liability.
Sure. Yeah, liability on the record. Ratification of the 2025 statutes. There were some comments from the members. They were presented too late. I agree. I think they should just be pushed to next time, whenever that is. Extraordinary Congress, regular Congress, if there's a Congress. They're not major changes, so the changes to the statutes is sort of irrelevant. So we'll just push them. Does everyone agree? Everyone, those who want to push the ratification of the 25 statutes forward, just yes, aye, hands up. Oh, I apologize. We're talking about not ratifying the 25 statutes at this Congress because people want to review more. Yes, anyone not in favor? Everyone's in favor? Okay. So they'll be pushed to next year. Reports from the continental federations. I I believe Africa, we don't have anything to update. For the Americas, Panna, I think, is not on the call. So I can give a quick update in the Americas. Actually, we'll go to Abraham Linus. I'll read Abraham. He's with the Latin American Confederation. So I have it here. All right, this is from Abraham Linus, president of the Confederation for OCR Latin America. Since 2024, we've been working in full alignment with FISO. During the 2024-25 season, we successfully held the fourth OCR Latin American Championships and the first standard FISO Latin American Championships with the standardized formats. And that was hosted in Chile on July 17th to 20th this year. We had participation from all member countries: Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia, Canada joining as a guest nation and doing the first level 2 coaching certification. Thank you, Canada. Our next official championships will take place in Sao Paulo, Brazil, June 25th, 26th, 25th through the 28th next year. And that's in coordination with the other countries in the region. They will be holding more level 2 and level 3 coach certification programs for Latin America, again with Canada. Looking ahead, they are developing the OCR, LATAM, and Pan Am champs together. We found that having 2 champs in the Americas was too much, so we're just bringing it to 1, just like Europe. So it'll be a single champs, but held probably in Latin America, because most of the countries are in Latin America. Currently, OCR LATAM brings together the aforementioned nations, and they are actively supporting other nations, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Bolivia, which are forming their federations right now. And they are working toward collaboration with the pentathlon federations in the Americas, which is going relatively well. For the most part, in the Americas, it's quite smooth. In North America, it's mostly done already in the United States and in Canada there. Tom, and he's on the board of Canada, the Canada Pentathlon. So it's a little bit different from other regions. It does vary by region, but the Americas are pretty far advanced. For Asia Pacific, Al Agra sends his apologies, and Coach Precious K is going to. Do you want me to read it, Precious? Yeah, okay. I'll read for Precious. Precious here, but I'll just read the update from the Asia Pacific region. India organized their first kids OCR. Japan staged their first OCR 100 World Series event. Indonesia had the Urban Ninja Games. Malaysia arranged the 100-meter Southeast Asia champs. Australia is new, actively recruiting members. Australia, by the way, has had some internal challenges. The solution is a straightforward one. They're going to. I have to go forward a little bit. Obstacle Australia is being expelled. They've been suspended for a year, but they haven't addressed the challenges, so they're being expelled. The new organization that has brought the team here will dissolve themselves to become a committee of pentathlon. So they're doing integration by just becoming a committee, and that's been generally agreed with the parties, and that's being facilitated by one of the task force members for UIPM integration, who is Andrew Collings. He is head of New Zealand. He's the president of New Zealand. They have full integration in New Zealand, and he's going to help facilitate Australia as well. So they've made it quite straightforward. It was an unfortunate forcing function for Australia that they got complex and chaotic. And now the simple solution is just become part of pentathlon. So they're doing it. In the Philippines, Saudi Arabia have had one of their major events. It's Arabian Warrior, which I think is their national chance. Bahrain is overseeing OCR in the schools. Philippines conducted the first obstacle sports physical education program at the University of the Philippines. They facilitated events in Ninja, Ninja Rev, Ninja Kids, and Parkour. 100-meter OCR will be part of the Uniformed Services Sports League. This is all the Philippines, by the way. They inaugurated 2 new public obstacle parks early this year, which makes a total of what, Thumby? It's quite a lot. How many obstacle parks now? 12. Okay, so they've now developed 12 public parks to develop obstacle in the country. 2026, Bahrain will host the West Asian Championships. Philippines will organize the Ninja World Cup. First Ninja World Cup for 2026 will be in the Philippines, and then it'll be followed by US, Australia, and Europe. I think in that order. Okay, that is Asia Pacific. Leah and Stefano. Stefano is going to present Europe.
Without presentation, otherwise.
Oh,
other
okay. Here,
people online will not.
yes. Do you want to do it off the screen? Stay here so they can hear you.
Do you want to read mine as well? Yes.
No.
Someone be on Zoom on their phone. Put the phone there. Just think it'd be good to see them.
Yeah, I can do that.
James.
No problem.
Oh,
Who's the smart guy in the room? Unless someone's already on Zoom. Is there someone already on Zoom? Okay, no problem.
There are still people on the waiting list for.
Oh, thank you.
Still have only 3 minutes and the clock is ticking. So. It's ticking this
Okay, you can go now.
plug.
Yes. So we're going to turn you off and then mobile device. Yes.
I have to move. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to open up the audio. We have Abraham's going to speak in Spanish because most of the Latin American countries only speak Spanish. So he's going to do his presentation in Spanish language. Let me just stop the share. And Abraham, I need to find you on the Zoom. There's a lot of people there.
I'm here.
Oh, perfect. All right. Abraham, do you want to and do your presentation in
Okay,
Spanish now? Wait.
in Spanish.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Hola a todos. I'm sorry, my English is very bad. Ian ya tradujo. Bueno, mi nombre es Abraham Lainez, presidente de la Confederación Latinoamericana de Obstáculos, OCR Latam. Y bueno, este es un reporte pequeño, informativo, de cómo hemos venido trabajando, y lo que se ha realizado. El 2024 venimos trabajando alineados a FISO. Tuvimos la participación oficial en el Mundial de Costa Rica y bueno, actualmente realizamos del 17 al 20 de julio en el país de Chile la cuarta edición de OCR Latam, el Campeonato Latinoamericano, y sería el primer campeonato oficial bajo los estándares de FISO. Ok, bueno, hemos contado aproximadamente con más de 700 participantes de países desde Puerto Rico, México, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, eh, Perú, Argentina, Brasil y el anfitrión Chile. Y actualmente también estamos trabajando con nuevos países que se están formando para hacer sus próximas federaciones nacionales. De igual forma, seguir trabajando en la construcción de más carreras y para que el deporte en nuestra región siga creciendo con los países de Paraguay, Uruguay y también con Bolivia. Nuestro próximo campeonato se va a realizar del 25 al 28 de julio en el estado de Sao Paulo, en Brasil. ¿Sí? Se va a realizar el siguiente, el OCR Latam, y en conversaciones y trabajo continuo con Ian Adamson y Rodolfo Villalobos, se va a realizar el primer OCR Latam Panam, en el cual se va a incluir a todas las Américas en un solo campeonato. Eso quiere decir que atletas desde Canadá hasta Chile y todos los atletas de Centroamérica se van a reunir en un solo campeonato a partir de Brasil 2026, desde el 25 al 28 de junio. Esa es la fecha oficial. El día lunes vamos a anunciar eh, a través de nuestras redes sociales. Y bueno, estamos muy contentos de trabajar y seguir profesionalizando y el deporte en nuestra región. Tuvimos la primera certificación de entrenadores nivel 2 en Chile y para el siguiente año vamos a seguir con nuestras certificaciones gracias a OCR Canadá y Tom Pritigen, y también vamos a tener nuestra primera certificación level 3 para entrenadoras de OCR. Así que esto es un pequeño reporte de lo que, como venimos trabajando en esta parte del continente, en esta parte del mundo, y seguimos para adelante empujando este deporte a, a que siga creciendo. Eso es todo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abraham. Confirmation of new members. We had a few new members, I think in all continents, mostly in Latin America, several in Europe, and a couple in Asia. So we will move on to the Ninja update. I think Chloe is there. Chloe, would you like to give the update for Ninja?
Hi, yes. Good evening, everyone. I wish I could have been there in person. However, I'm happy to be giving an update on the progress of the Ninja Standing Committee and to share our vision for where the sport is heading. Over the past year, our committee has met several times, bringing together members from various regions of the world. These meetings have been essential to clarify our goal and strengthen our mission to develop Ninja in a positive and professional way, focusing on international expansion and the creation of high-level world-class events. One of our key focuses has been to design a framework for a Ninja World Cup circuit. We are working towards a 2-year cycle beginning in 2026. Each year will feature 3 to 4 World Cup events, and the first year will conclude with a World Cup final, while the second year will lead to a World Championship. This structure will not only ensure regular opportunities for athletes to compete at the highest level, but also create clear and stimulating opportunities building up towards the World Championship. Another major aim of our work has been the development of a technical Ninja course and create standards that are consistent, transparent, and fair for athletes worldwide. To that end, a dedicated committee tasked with defining the course size, the number of obstacles, and the rule set has been created so that Ninja can offer courses that reflect the full range of skills in our sport. At the same time, we have been listening closely to the community and are therefore refining the rules for the existing FISO speed racing course. These updates are designed to make the races more exciting, fair, and accessible, while preserving the integrity of competition at the highest level. Taken together, these steps represent the foundation of a sport that is organized, respected, and prepared for continued global growth. Ninja is a young discipline, but with the energy and dedication of our athletes, coaches, and organizers, as well as officials, we are building something that will last, something that can stand alongside the most recognized sports on the international stage. I do want to thank all of the committee members, as well as the broader community for their commitment and their input. The progress we've made is only possible because of your efforts. And we are excited for what lies ahead. We look forward to continuing this journey with all of you and take Ninja to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Any questions in the room? I think some of you on the committee anyway, so that should be fine. Next, we have adventure racing update from Helene Matheson. Helene.
Hi, everyone. I want to see myself talk. There we go. Hi, good morning. So my name is Helen Matheson. I am representing the adventure racing community here today. We just wrapped up the Zuid Raid Adventure Race in France, in Gap. And I'm going to read from a piece of paper. The global adventure racing community has just witnessed an incredible highlight, the Zuid Raid Adventure Race in Gap, France, which hosted the 2025 Adventure One World Cup final. Teams from across Europe, Asia, and beyond competed in a grueling course, roughly 350 kilometers, 12,000 meters of elevation gain. I mean, adventure racing is doing what would they used to say, 5 Ironmans in a row. So it was a really great event, and it was what was cool about it was that they got a lot of support from the local community. There was a huge rock concert, 5,000 spectators at the award ceremony. It was just really a big event with a lot of media coverage, which is great for our event. It's kind of niche. It's hard to film. So to get all that media coverage and spectators, that was really impressive what they've created there. It says it was integrated in the summer festival, so sports and culture were combined, which is just great for the integration. I'm at the moment in Bentonville, Arkansas, where the Ozark Foundation is back in an event. It's the USARA, United States Adventure Racing Association National Championships. There's 200 teams here. They're actually in progress. They just started this morning at 9 o'clock. So after this meeting, I should go back out there and see what their production looks like there. again, you got to drive for hours to actually go and visit the event and watch it. So to get adventure racing more televised, more, with hopefully drones and other media, and with the Ozark Foundation backing this, it's a really big deal. We're getting more attention. So I'm very pleased to report on that. And then on a personal note, we just finished up another kids adventure race, which we've been running for some 15 years. You should all just have a look at what we're doing. We've, many small kids are adventure racing, combined kid-sized, the up and coming. We're trying to get them ready for the future. So thank you. That is my little update today. And thanks all for being here and helping everybody come together doing this important work. So thanks.
Thank you, Helene. I will show a picture from the award ceremony of the Adventure Racing World Cup. So we're going to lose the audio there, guys.
Écoutez, nous, alors, on n'a donné aucune autorisation à personne de venir. Donc, c'est une place privée, vous faites comme vous voulez. Moi, je suis pas de la police non plus.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Rob Stahl. We are fortunate that President Rob Stahl from World Pentathlon here. He's going to talk about the benefits of integration. So, Rob, if you would like to come up and share your wisdom with us, that would be great.
You're in my spot.
I am in your spot. I was just opening up so that they can see you.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you all. It's a pleasure to be here. This is one of a number of congresses I've attended over the years, and it's great to watch it grow and see it develop. Be great to be here enjoying Göteborg. My family, 150 years, left Göteborg, went to the United States. So it's great for me to see the old country for me personally. The benefits of being part of the Olympic movement. So the UIPM, as many of you know, is over, I guess we're 130 years old as an international sport, part of the International Olympic Committee. We're part of the Olympic family. What benefits do you get? The benefits are extraordinary. I think there are a number of you here who have dealings with your national Olympic committees or your sports ministries. So it isn't a one size fits all. No sporting world is in terms of nation by nation, even FIFA. You can take a look. Some national Olympic committees have more resources than others. Some sports ministries have more resources than others. But you have to get through the door. You have to have a seat at the table to have access to any of those resources. And so I'm not going to sit here and say joining the UIPM, being part of the UIPM umbrella, is going to be a magic pot of gold. It will be in some cases. There are some national Olympic committees and some sports ministries. Well, that will be the case. There are other examples where you'll be fighting with other sports. There'll be where the resources will not be as strong. And that is the natural way of things in the world. And so first and foremost, I would say that being part of the Olympic movement, being part of an Olympic or a recognized Olympic International Federation opens the door to the Olympic family. And that is, there are resources there that even
Really? You should come listen.
I've attended a number of these events, but this is the first time I'm attending as an IF president. And so I've been an IF president for about 6 months, and actually about 8 months. And in that time, I'm still learning. I've done this, been involved in sports for 47 years, but I'm learning even now about what's available, what resources are available, what other means to participate is available through the International Olympic Committee. And there are many, many programs. That is a multi-billion-dollar organization. So there's an organization called Olympic Solidarity. And solidarity grants, solidarity funding is something that some of you may be familiar with and some of you may not. But those are specific grants that you can apply for by nation, your National Olympic Committee. And this sport, what you do, the obstacle community, is something that I think would be a nice fit. So there are many, many pieces along the resource route. Then, of course, there's, as I'll go back to the dialogue between Ian and James earlier, in terms of volunteerism and just how far you can go with volunteers. Volunteers are great. We live, every organization, I think, sport organization lives through their volunteers. The Olympic Games is staffed by 100,000 or more volunteers. But as a business, it's very hard. You can only go so far with volunteerism. So one of the things you gained with being part of the International Federation is the administrative support, the governance support. In our case, we have over 20 staff members that are full-time paid staff members based in Monte Carlo, Monaco. And I'll be very honest with you, we've been based in Monaco since 1997, and the primary reason is because of the relationship with the Prince of Monaco. He's our honorary president. We're based there. He's been very, very supportive, and we receive certain benefits by being based in Monaco. So that's our headquarters. We're proud of that. And again, we have full-time staff people who wake up every morning, 5 days a week, and I'd say 5 days, but I know it's more. I've got our chief operations in the back there, Alex Franca, who I know works more than 5 days a week, and does nothing but sport all day long. And these guys are 24/7. So that's another benefit that you get in terms of administrative people that have a job to do this. And if the job doesn't get done, they can't walk away unless they want to lose their job. So the reality is we hold them to a standard. They're accountable, and accountability is key. So this is another piece. With that comes all sorts of programs that you can imagine, programs put together by the International Federation, whether they're educational, and you have many within your own already set up, but in terms of coaches education, athlete education, anti-doping, social benefits, the list is a mile long, but there are many, 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 many benefits to being associated with the Olympic movement, not least of which is pride. I'm fortunate enough to have been an Olympian myself. I competed in 2 sports and 3 games for the United States. And part of that, being part of the Olympic family and being able to walk into an opening ceremonies and being part of an Olympic sport, it means something. It provides you with it changed my life, and it's a life-changing experience. And the long-term direction that we have with this is really unlimited. I don't have a crystal ball for the future, but I'm very, very happy with the short-term results. Since the Paris Games of last August, a year ago last August, and then our elite athletes have picked up the obstacle event within our world championships and so forth. It's been very, very successful. We've had really, really good feedback, and we've had a lot of success. We've had a lot of success from the people who matter, the media. Media matters. So we've had, I can say that I'm very happy and very proud to be involved with this. Am I being dinged?
No, I'm just
It's like the Oscars, they pull you off.
just admitting someone.
Okay, sure. But I just like to say that I'm very proud of you all because I've watched Ian and company and many of you develop this sport, develop these events, and watched, as you all know, sport today is not just sport, it's entertainment. Sport and entertainment go hand in hand. When people have to choose what event they're going to watch, are they going to watch, some action movie, or are they going to watch this sporting event? And it better be entertaining. It needs to be entertaining. And you have developed this to the level of a real show. You're creating something that has really good entertainment value. So again, I'm proud of you for what you've done. I'm proud of Ian and his team for being where you are. So not sure what else I can say in terms of benefits, but I'm certainly happy to take questions to whatever time you want to. I don't like to drone on, even though it may sound like it.
I suggest we hold questions to the end.
Oh,
We have
Sure.
one question. Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
If you are proud about what we were doing, then why are you making competition?
are you talking about China?
Yes.
Okay.
Talk about it.
Yes. So this is part of the normal process. The MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between FISO and the UIPM was signed in August of 23 in Bath. So that process, and you, as Ian has explained several times in this meeting today, many of the national federations are well on their way to full integration. And so it's simply because of the resources involved in hosting and putting on a world championships and putting on major events, planning goes into that years in advance. And so in order to facilitate the transition, that's really what this is. So the event in China is not a direct competitor to this. It's an open competition. It's not like this where you qualified by nation. This year, that is not the case. So it's an open competition for people to attend. But we have a responsibility as the governing body that notice was sent to all national Olympic committees in the world and all other international federations earlier this year, and the IOC. We have a responsibility to host events. So we're exercising that responsibility, and that's why. So we're hoping it's going to be a great event. This is a great event, and we hope in the future. I think what must happen is a coordinated calendar, we're not here to make things worse. We're here to make things better. That's really all this is about.
Sorry, but for us, it makes things worse because the people didn't know what the same name, World Championship OCR in two places, different times.
I can understand that.
It's green for everyone in OCR.
I completely understand the confusion. I understand that. And I wish it didn't have to be. This is much like the Congress of last year in Costa Rica. We were hoping to be quite frank, the UIPN was hoping we'd be further along with the integration process. But we can't stop what we're doing. We're not trying to force anybody any organization to join with us. The analogy is a train that's left the station and is moving forward. So we can't wait. So that is what we're doing, and that is why China exists. And again, I apologize for any confusion this may cause, but it's designed at the end of the day, and this is not unlike many other. For lack of a better word, integrations between the NBA and the ABA, between the WBF and the WBA, in boxing or in basketball, and there are many examples in sport, but that's the answer.
It is a process, and there is overlap. But yeah, do we want to clash? No, no one does. Let's, if you wouldn't mind, this is a longer conversation, and there is more on the integration. James needs to present. I need to say a few words, and Stefano also needs to say a few things. So we'll put this to the Q&A, but let's get through the agenda first, and then we can have a nice discussion. Sound good?
Okay, so my point on the agenda was the benefits. So the benefit is just really the key benefit is that it unlocks the door to the Olympic movement. That's the key benefit. Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Sure.
We skipped over OCR probably because we're buried in the biggest thing we do each year. So the OCR Standing Committee, Stefano is going to give his presentation now.
I was fine with being forgotten. So along with the Ninja Standing Committee led by Chloe, we also have a OCR Standing Committee. Among all the hard to number things that we should focus on, we identified two that are, we think, the most important right now, which are youth, kids, As mentioned before, we had nearly 300 kids in the last European Championship. I don't know how many kids here. We have to focus on them, not forgetting the other athletes, of course, because we cannot lose them. They are our future, and we should be able to give them events with the correct level of accessibility, safety, and safeguarding, which is absolutely a really hard challenge when having events with competitors spanning from 10 years old to 70 years old like we have. Unfortunately, right now, splitting the championship might not be the best idea because, as mentioned with the 400-meter UCR European Championship, one event helps families keep costs lower. So, in this regards, we have to be really, really, really good in making our events accessible for kids. Along with the kids, we shall not forget who runs for fun. The open races, some data. In this event, we have 1,500 competitive athletes. This event is mainly for them. But the total numbers of registered athletes, including the fundraisers, is 5,000. So it's the majority of them. So we shall see that we have competitors. Amongst competitors, we have kids, and then we have open races. They are all equally important, and we are all making our community. The other thing we should focus is alignment of standards worldwide. So we have 55 registered nations in this event. And after participating in several World, European, and Special Championship over the past 10 years, I can say that the standards from country to country are really different. By standard, I mean ranges of heights of the walls, of weights of the carries, of who is allowed to use steps to get over walls, who is allowed to use ropes. We shall prepare something common for the athletes so we can get rid of complicated rule books. We shall have one master document with all these standards sorted. Also rules, we see that for the same obstacle, we may have different rules from country to country. This is also confusing, especially during an event like this with so many different cultures from 5 different continents. And of course, rules should be simple to read, simple to understand, but also ensure safety. Example, the dips that we will have tomorrow in the standard race. We decided that the start procedure will be putting the hands before a sign to avoid at least jumping in and risking an injury because the dips are very high. It's really easy to get injured. So, simple rules, safe rules, common rules worldwide. I'm done.
Thank you, Stefano.
Yes. One query, and that's on the rules of standardization. I completely agree with things like how you start an obstacle, how you finish, like whether you can use a step or not. That standardization really helps. And from your point of view, the variety of obstacles, which is why you love OCR, there's no plan from a standardization perspective there.
I wouldn't standardize obstacles. I would standardize common practice.
Yeah.
I would not want to limit fantasy and ingenuity, both from organizers and athletes. That's my personal opinion. I do not have the personal opinions of every member of the committee, but that's how I feel.
You've seen it actually in play here. The modification of the rules here, the simplification of the rules here has been a step to test the water for what we can do as we move forward. And we will seek feedback from this event on how the obstacles, starts, finishes, and rules were set up, because there's a strong argument that the way we're doing it here and starting to reduce the number of bells and put in more starting platforms and lines, we think there's a path forward that can be a good thing. It does work in some events. It's not universal. It varies across the world, obviously. But this has been partially a test, and we need feedback. So the OCR standing committee can make an informed decision with your feedback about how that should move forward. So that's just an example of what Stefano's talking about, is we need to keep advancing the sport by keep testing the rules and the formats and that sort of thing. Clearly, we're pretty good at what we do now, but we can get better. Thank you.
We are hiring if any of your members want to join.
Hey everyone, James Burton. For anyone that doesn't know me, I chair British Obstacle Sports. I also sit on the board of Pentathlon GB, and I joined Pentathlon GB on their board when that position became available, because our mission in the UK is to ensure everyone in the UK can enjoy the endless possibilities of obstacle sports. And for me, it was very simple. There's a new form of our sport. We should 100% absolutely support it, which we've done and supported Pentathlon GB. We have a strategic alliance in place where we found common areas of our sports where we work together on. So that's first step. We in the UK decided we wouldn't move forward with any further integration because we felt it was very important to understand what was happening internationally and what would be the situation. Obviously, there was an MOU signed between World Obstacle and UIPM. And while some nations have integrated, we felt we should follow and understand what's happening internationally first, and most importantly, understand what the benefits are for our sport. So since June, I know the FISO integration working group, I think it started in December. I started joining meetings in June, and I started to chair, I think, in July, those meetings. And for me, it's really, really simple. There's clear benefits. Rob explained them very well earlier. There's clear benefits of joining the Olympic movement. Ian has done an incredible job, and it should be noted. I try not to give you a hard time because he has done an incredible job, and I've seen it. Like, it's very easy to be dismissive of all of Ian's hard work, but it's very hard to do what Ian does, and he does it very well. And the international, we all deal with the politics at a national level. The international politics go up 10 levels more, and there's a lot to be done. And Ian handles it very, very well, and is very knowledgeable about international sports and structures. So we should be incredibly grateful for all the work Ian's done. For me, though, it's really, really important that those benefits can be realized and we protect our sport if we are to say, are to dissolve World Obstacle ultimately. And that's kind of where the discussions with the integration working group have gone. How do we, as a World Obstacle, representing the sports of World Obstacles, how do we ensure that moving and dissolving World Obstacle and moving into UIPM, our sports are protected? The two key things that have come out and we presented in the vote text that we will vote on today is, one, independence for our sports. So people within the OCR, the standing committee for OCR, and the people that have been put in place currently to govern our sport and determine the rules, determine the structures, determine the events, they're in a position of control, and we don't end up in a position where we are effectively being told what is happening with our sport. I'm not saying that will happen. There's always a risk with governance if the wrong governance structures are in place, if the wrong governance structures are in place, there's always a risk that our sport could be changed without our input ultimately. And it's the same across, OCR, Ninja, Adventure Racing, if they were to all integrate into UIPM. So we presented the vote text, and maybe shortly we'll talk about it. I just wanted to just actually call out who's on the committee and who's been participating in the committee, because it's very important. But Ian Adamson, myself as chair, Jen Miller, who you heard earlier from the Ninja, Tom, I should have learned how to say your surname, Tom. Go on. Tom from Obstacle Canada, president of Obstacle Canada, Naibi, who is also on the UIPM task force, Chloe Henry from Ninja, Halim Mattison, who you heard earlier from Adventure Racing, Fahid Tahiki, who I think is from the Middle East representative, Rodolfo Villalobos, who many of you met in Costa Rica last year. And there's others that have contributed and not necessarily been in meetings, but have contributed, such Al Agra, Pana. There's various people from around the whole world who have contributed. We've also had recently the introduction of some of the pentathlon community as well. I think it's really important that we collaborate, and I think communication is probably where we've lacked, unfortunately, and there hasn't been enough communication. That's probably where things like China have happened. And I was the same. I was like, where did this come from? Where did this event come from? We've got a championship in September, and this is why we really need to communicate with our friends in the pentathlon community. And I think the more we talk, I think we can break down these challenges we have. Because for me, we have a real opportunity to rapidly grow our sport and develop our sport and collectively together move our sports forward. But I can also see a potential other world, another scenario where it effectively becomes a very dangerous civil war within our sport. And I don't think anyone wants that. If we're united, we move forward together, we can have a very powerful sport collectively. And I think it's really, really important that collaboration, that communication, which I think UIPM have spelled out in their task force as well, it's really, really important we push with that mindset. That being said, my position is not at all costs. I think this is, it clearly see the benefits. As I say, independence and board representation. We need board representation as well. Those two things, they will lead us down the right path, in my view. It's very easy for me to say that in practice is going to be a lot harder to achieve. UIPM have statutes, they have a pentathlon community that are also fearful of, some of the community is fearful of us as the obstacle community. We're a very large community. And they're seeing obstacle community come in, the sport of pentathlon changing, and they're like, whoa, what's going on here? So we need to be have empathy for that situation as well. But I do think that if we can work together and hopefully through these communications and these things I've said, independence, representation, work through the detail of that, we can be in a very strong position together. And that is what the vote text that hopefully the screen's gone, hopefully we'll get up so everyone can see it if they haven't seen it. I've shared it on the Google chat and the WhatsApp. It effectively outlines the detail around independence and the detail around board representation. But it doesn't say this is a guarantee. But I think what it does say, if we all approve this, it sends a really strong message to UIPM that we want to be part of the family. But this is effectively a bit of a prenuptial, for want of a better word. This is what our national federations would feel very comfortable joining the family if we can work through these areas together, essentially. And if we can then work through those areas together, Ian can hopefully call an extraordinary general meeting, because we should try and do this as quickly as possible. He can call extraordinary general meetings and we can come together. And the logical conclusion is the dissolving of World Obstacle. As I say, for me, it needs to be not at all costs, but we have the opportunity, I think, to get a good outcome for our sports. I think I've said everything, but I think the benefit, I completely agree with the benefits. We're volunteer organizations. There's obviously a risk with any Olympic sport. It may not always be an Olympic sport in the future, but I think actually us joining the family makes it an even stronger case for the IOC and the decisions further down the line. Brisbane will be next year. And that's why we also need to be careful and collectively that we're sending that strong united message as well, because I think Brisbane is an important decision for the pentathlon community, and I think it's all looking positive. And again, us staying united can help that case, and then further down the line, who knows what happens from the Olympic side. Yeah, for me, the Olympics is a nice to have, but I think for me the big benefit is that governance internationally. I actually had the pleasure of joining the UIPM Congress I was stand-in interim CEO at Pentathlon GB at the time in Riyadh. Very professional event, very well organized. You can see that level of international governance and setup that we could be a part of as well in the future. Yeah, thank you. I don't know if we want to go through the vote text now. Is that next on the agenda?
Yes, we do. Well, actually, I'm going to do, yeah, we can do that now. That's totally fine.
Go
Has
on.
everyone read the vote text? You want to see it again? You want to hear it again? We should put it up. We can put it up. I think we'll have it here. Let's see.
And I actually missed Stefano's name. Sorry, Stefano. He's part of the working group as well. Was there anyone else in the working group want to say anything, Tom? From your side?
I do want to mention something because I was curious how many, so we have this ranking system that we've been working on for years now. We had 3 that we were evaluating. The one that we chose was the Swedish version. So we implemented that this year for this championships. When I looked at the information from the qualifications, there were 55,000 qualified runs to get to this World Championships. So that gives us an idea of scale, but that was not complete because not all countries put their rankings in. But that gives us an idea of how far we've come. Because if you go back to 2017, when we had our first championships in Europe, it was definitely not that. It was basically about 300 people who showed up to a strong Viking event and had an amazing fun time. So with that, I will pull up the vote text. I had to dig it out of the Google here. Give me a minute. There's a bathroom, toilet on the left if anyone wants to take a 5-minute break. We're now getting to the meat of the agenda, so give me a couple of minutes. Everyone online, you're going to lose the audio again, but I need to put this up.
protocol in May of this year to work with the National Pentathlon Federation. It's a written document with some points and with some points of interest. And what is missing here from the proposal is the proposal itself. So even last year in Costa Rica, we asked, I personally asked for facts, proof. And after 1 year, more than 1 year actually, 13 months, we don't have any written document with a proposal from UIPM. And this is something that, to my eyes, is missing, because we need to decide and talk of facts, of proof. As Petri was pointing out before, there are several points and several chances that UIPM has been missing in this year. For instance, okay, the train has left the station. Who's driving this train? It's UIPM. Fine. But having someone of board obstacle on the train, for instance, for Beijing, for China event, would have been appreciated. Or appointing someone and providing a budget for a special committee from the very beginning of this year would have been appreciated, because it would have been considered a fact, a proof of love. Let's all something like that, okay? In the proposal is fine, but it's missing one point, that the National Pentathlon Federation is completely autonomous from IUPM. So maybe I'm wrong, but Alex or Rob, you can correct me or comment on this. They can do almost what they want with the local obstacle community. So this is something we need to consider. Of course, I understand all the benefit, but I understand that this is a pattern that we are working. This is clear to me. I understand the benefit. We are, I mean, for our country, we are working quite well with the National Pentathlon Federation. But what I'm talking about is for all the other all the other countries that maybe need more help. And even our pet in Italy is not so certain, because there will be a new election in November, things can change and so on. And they can change constantly. We live in a quick world, in a fast world, so we know that. So if the union has people that work for sport every day, probably some of these days in the past year could have been dedicated to write down a proposal that we can have here. So these are the weak points that we need to address. The benefits are clear. There are also some things to be considered, that the law that and the structure we are going into is a structure and there are laws. This means that the freedom that we have now, we were talking about obstacle, the variety of obstacles that we face in all our countries, this will probably be affected by this structure and by this law. So some constraint will apply in the future. So we need to, this is, to me, is not something, it's not so bad. We can manage it and keep our freedom to create new obstacles, because our athlete and ourselves as well could have fun as we are, to be challenger on new obstacles. This is something we can manage together with Alex and with Rob. I mean them as representative, of course. But we need to consider this. So I do think that we need facts from UIPM. That fact that did not come today or up to today, something we need to work on with UIPM, and remember to consider that the national federation are independent. So we need to understand with UIPM how to work with them and to manage them, so that nobody of the obstacle race community will be left outside.
Thank you. I think just as chair of the integration working group, just to support Mauro. I think that's exactly what we need, and unfortunately, it hasn't come quick enough. Like, you know, we are where we are. I think we are starting to get into the detail. We've had some initial conversations around some of the proposal in the vote text, and I think that UIPM has an obstacle commission within their statutes. I think that would be an ideal next step. Is that obstacle commission is set up with people from the obstacle community representing.
Sorry, interrupt. For instance, this obstacle commission, UIPM can nominate half of the members, the other half must be.
This is something different, but yeah, but I think, but ultimately, I think the ideal scenario is the national federation say these 5 people represent our sports, and it will be collective. Please, can we, and it would be a representative. It won't be executive power. It would be recommendations to EB. But this is the initial proof of love, which is a lovely term you used there. Moving us forward. The second part is having people from within the community. The essence of our sport is what we're all here to protect. What would be a real travesty and a real shame is why pentathlon have seen our sport and seen it so exciting and so interesting. It loses that essence, and I think we all have a job as national federations to protect that essence and move it forward collectively.
All right. As you know, I'm the blue sky guy. So here's an example of where it has worked really well. In some respects, triathlon, which I was involved in also in the early 1980s, went through a paradigm shift when it became part of the Olympic movement. Interestingly, pentathlon was involved at the time. There was a relationship between pentathlon and what would become an Olympic sport by itself. In triathlon, we went through this exact thing where, oh no, it's going to be standardized formats. It's not what we do. We don't like this criterium style Olympic format. It's wrecking our sport. Well, that didn't happen for a very good reason. It's not an or, it's an and. You're adding things together. You're not taking away stuff from what already exists. And triathlon has continued to grow. In fact, it got so much bigger after introduction to Sydney Games that it basically exploded, and the formats increased. So it did the opposite of what the fear was. This happened in climbing too. Also a climber, climbing sport. It's been recognized for a long time, but it got medal events in the games with exactly the same scenario. The medal events in the games have to fit all sorts of things like broadcast and windows. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you have to do to finesse the formats for the Olympic program. In climbing, they basically did what triathlon did. They formatted the formats of climbing. They took 3 common disciplines, they brought them together, and the climbing community went, this is bullshit, we're not doing that, right? Because that didn't represent what they did. Well, guess what happened? Exactly what happened in triathlon. They created the Olympic format, which is for the Olympics, and all the other sports, all the other pieces of climbing, sport, lead, traditional, all of that stuff got bigger. In fact, it exploded. The number of climbing gyms now is through the roof because of the Olympics. The sport didn't shrink. It didn't get watered down. It didn't get constrained into a little box. It just got bigger. The same thing happened to triathlon. The fear is rational. Oh no, our sport is going to get wrecked. To Mauro's point, it's going to change our sport. We won't be able to do this stuff. I believe completely the opposite is true because I've been through it twice. And I think it's consistent. We're not taking something away. We're adding something. Does that make sense to everyone? Would that be accurate, Olympic people? Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Mario's comments, and I really do. And I think you're asking about a proposal. I think that you.
Rob, I apologize. Would you mind coming up, because we've got like a whole bunch of people here. I know. You don't have to. We like hearing you talk. Yeah, it's just the community on the Zoom.
We can afford a better microphone. Yeah, what I was just trying to articulate was that one of your points, Mauro, was in terms of proposals, and the proposal that was just here for everybody to see is in effect a proposal. You know, it wasn't done blindly or without consultation with UIPM and so forth. And it's a process. I'm not here to sell anybody anything today. I'm actually here to show a little love, you know. So I'm a sitting IF who came here to see this event because I care about the sport. I care about sport in general, but I care about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now, Ian and I started this journey that's led us to this point. And again, it's exciting for me. And there are lots of details to be worked out. And I have absolutely no interest in trying to tell somebody how many obstacles should be on a course or how high something should be or how that is what the obstacle community needs to do. That's your job. You know, that's your sport. So I have come from the sporting side as an athlete myself to the administration side, so the admin and the political piece, and I know how these things work. And at the end of the day, I see an exciting future for both entities, you know, collectively, just exactly as you all were illustrating. And I hope that you all the analogy of the train, yes, and we do have FISO world obstacle people involved with China. It's a first effort on our behalf, and we're going to continue this. We need to, but like I said, it's very, very exciting to be part of the process. And I know that it's not going to happen overnight, and I know there are going to be some challenging cases. It really and truly is not a one size fits all. I'm very familiar with the situation in Italy, and Daniele is an old friend of mine and competitor, actually. You know, so I know that that's why these task force, both from the UIPM and FISO, their objective is to help, is to try to work those situations out. There's hardly a day that goes by that I don't get some sort of communication about a problem somewhere in the world that we need to solve. And so, when you said the national federations are independent, yes, and you correctly illustrated to a point, right? So what we want to do is identify those. There are places where there's a pentathlon federation that's very strong and perhaps not as strong an obstacle federation. Maybe it doesn't exist, and vice versa. You know, where the obstacle federation is very strong and the pentathlon federation is not. And so what we're trying to do is bridge those gaps through the task force. We created the task force because or these task forces were created on both sides, frankly, because the movement was slow, and we were trying to. There were literally obstacles in the way that we were trying to solve, and we have solved some of them. Some of them take more work, and I don't expect this to happen overnight. But I do think I do think the journey is worth it. I hope you all will reach that decision at some point. But the train is definitely moving. We're welcoming you. You're welcome aboard. And would love to have you on this journey with us. And that's that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. I do want to talk about the task force and the work group. The work group they're doing similar things. The work group is the FISO one that is presenting this stuff, because that's us. The task force is UIPM. There's 6 members now on both the task force and the work group. So about half of the members are on both. And that's important because we are figuring out ways to solve issues in some countries that need solving, facilitate the progress in others that are moving, and then address the other things we need to address. So that's a practical thing. To Maro's point, the reason that we have the proposal is exactly what you asked. Why is there no proposal? Well, as Rob said, it's the task force and the work group, and we have a proposal now, so we have a starting point. We've had a starting point 2 years ago, but now we have something concrete to do. That's important. Just keep in mind, a vote to continue this process is not a vote to dissolve. That comes later. This is the actual process. Dissolution is the end. Dissolution is we're happy, this is going great, or enough people, 80% of our members say, yes, this is good. Then we go ahead. Until then, we get everything looking as good as we can. And if we're happy, like we get engaged, engagement's going great, we get married. just like that.
Thanks. Yeah, national federations, ultimately for me, and this is why this conversation is important at a world level, it's self-determination for each country and each community on what sport. I don't think that's someone else can, for me, not come in and say we own this sport without the will of the community. And that's why this is really important as well, and it will take us forward that next step. There's a lot more work to do, and I think we are starting to accelerate. We're meeting weekly now as a working group. I'm hoping to have that exchange, not necessarily weekly, but as many times as possible with UIPM as well. And I would recommend that we come back as a group maybe at the end of this year as well, on online, and just keep the pace. We've got to move forward quicker, because otherwise we're going to be in this world of indecision ultimately, and we need to move forward as a sport. Was there any other questions? I know, do you have...
My memory is not good, but I have the impression that in 2023 and 2024, knowing that the goal was to join the Olympics, the most beneficial way was to join the 13, merge with your idea. We still had other options. Are those options still on the table, or they have been let aside?
Well, I think there's collectively for the sport, there's always options that you could continue as World Obstacle. But I think all the benefits we've talked about earlier, I think, and Ian's put a hell of a lot of work as a volunteer, as we talked about earlier. And World Obstacle, despite the hard work of people like Ian, is not a fully functioning professional organization with a secretariat, paid staff, etc. That could be 10, 15, 20 years before we get to that point. The other option on the table ultimately is the rival IF, which is very small right now. But again, starting with a rival IF, for me, that does not make sense. We've got this far. Again, it'll be 10, 15, 20 years before you get to that point. So they're the other options. Another option is to partner with another sport. Again, there's always options. But for me, if we can get the win-win and get the clear protection for our sports, this is 100% the right way to go for me. The other options will take a lot more time, and also we'll need leadership, in terms of people to take that forward. And I don't think that's the case. That's just a very open, transparent view, and I presented that to the British Obstacle Sports members, like the options on the table. This for me is the strongest option, and a lot of benefits as we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got people on. I do think it's a very important vote. So I've been trying to take everyone's country names, and I think actually everyone on the chat should vote with their country, yes or no, as well. We should make sure it's recorded, because it's really important that we present to our members the collective will of the national federations.
I can vote here.
Yeah, just because you'll save the chat, and we can. There's a few people, sorry, I didn't recognize, so I'll just grab countries. But I've got in the room, I've got GB, Canada, Italy, Israel, Germany, Greece, Netherlands, Belgium, Finland, Hungary, France, New Zealand, Philippines, USA, Sweden, Spain, Switzerland, Denmark, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico. Any other countries that I haven't called? Oh, sorry. I've got France.
India.
I think
Rajesh, you can, Rajesh, look in the chat.
Yeah.
You write it into the chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mauro is hiding.
And we should do the vote.
Yeah.
Is it just a yes or no vote, or is it possible to add adjustment, like for example, the independence?
So that's in there in terms of the independence. I would say at this point, it's a yes, no, or abstain, but this is a starting point to feedback to myself or to Ian in terms of things that we can improve and take forward. Yes, and it was shared though previously, and I haven't had any feedback. But I think we would go round and tweak the wording. But we do, to Mauro's point, the independence is 100% in there. in terms of the wording. Standing committees, effectively, Stefano chairs the OCR standing committee. Jen, the Ninja, Helene, the Adventure Racing. The view is ultimately we want to get those standing committees, those structures, and again, it might not be possible, but the view is those structures within UIPM. And so that Stefano, as chair of OCR, has some level of control ultimately with the committee over OCR, and same for Ninja, same for other sports. Go on, please speak. Sorry, what country are you representing?
Denmark.
Oh, sorry, I missed.
Right,
I've read it. Denmark.
Sure what to do. We discussed it before, but just like Noah said, we're a bit worried about the way that championship in China was rolled out, and it seems more like, I'm not sure I have the words in English, but an attack is maybe a bit aggressive, but because we have this championship where it's really hard to make it work economically, and another country is going to take it next year. And then we have China inviting top athletes, paying for their states, giving them high prize monies, and making really good marketing. And it seems more like an interest conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I was going to host the championship, it would be really great that it would work and that the top athletes go to China.
So 2 points I would say on that. The first is myself represent British Old School Sports. I share the viewpoint around China. I shared a statement to our athletes and said we're not in support of this. It didn't feel right, and it didn't feel that it was the right thing to do to move us forward as a collective community. That being said, I do have empathy and I understand why it's happening, because the sport of the pentathlon side does have to move forward. I have empathy for why it's happening, but from a British Obstacle Sports perspective, we also have our own. We can form our own judgment. So I sit here as chair of the integration working group with a lot of the same concerns, but ultimately see where it could be with some hard work. But I don't think it's going to take much. It's hard work, but there's clarity for me on where we could go. The second point, where I look at China and I look at the investment, I see the opportunity as well. If we're collectively unified and moving in the same direction, how powerful and exciting that could be for athletes. We have a couple of athletes going, we've not stopped them going because it's such a great opportunity for them as athletes. So that's my view of if we can work together and get to the point where we're all unified, that investment can be so powerful for all our athletes, and all our athletes should deserve that as well. So yeah, that's my feedback in terms of I understand the concerns, absolutely. And we've got to work hard to address those for the.
I'm worried about the
Well, that I think is feedback we can take, and we've had some discussions there, so we should take that forward and address that.
Yeah. So for those online, the concern is it's really about synchronizing scheduling events and avoiding conflict. I know for sure UIPM's desire is not to create conflict. It's not. They do have to do what they have to do. It is part of their job as an Olympic sport, moving toward games with like they have a sport, they have to do this, as we do as well. We have to represent our communities, our athletes, our needs. Unifying it, to James's point, actually solves the problem, and that's part of the vote text. We move toward that. Yes, there was maybe the communication wasn't ideal, and there's impressions of what it means, but it's not a conflict. It's not designed as a conflict, and it's not supposed to be a conflict. If done properly, it's an incredible opportunity because we get both. So that's what we're working toward. And as they say in English, the devil is in the details. That's the work. So what we're voting on is, should everything go properly? Should we be able to synchronize, unify federations, events, functions, which are important? We do coaching and officiating, and we have programs that develop them. Unifying them are powerful. if for those of you who haven't been in an Olympic sport and been to a Congress and seen the structures that can be provided when you have an actual office of paid staff, it's amazing. We don't have that. We all do it. We pay money to do it. We want to reverse that, unify, and then have a office that does it. So yes, heard clearly, because without understanding, it can be scary.
I think we can certainly minute the concern around championship conflict as well. And your concern is if Denmark choose to host an event, and then there's a concern of another event taken over or taken out, like, so that we can definitely take that into the integration working group as an area.
But it's also the way of it doesn't feel integrated because it doesn't seem like we were being heard before it was announced or introduced to it and so on. So it's also the whole
The communication.
yeah, around it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because
yeah, and that's exactly right. It is a communication, and these two groups, the working group and the task force, this is the job now. We now have mechanisms that are in place and are working constantly now to facilitate that. Some of us were meeting face to face with Rob Stahl and Shiny and others at UIPM the other week in Lithuania, and this is the communication. We now have we have channels open, and we're talking about it. We're sharing our concerns and what we can do together. So we are addressing these things, and they're very important. You're exactly right. These are important things that have to be addressed.
A few months ago, we then sent a letter to Estonian Olympic Committee. Since then, Estonian OCR organization can't make legally anymore the country championships. As UIPM pentathlon organization is not making any champions in Estonia, then no championships will be held, or we are holding it, but they are not legal anymore.
Yes, this is one of those local law and regulation things that has to be addressed. So clearly, it's something that is of urgency to your community in Estonia, because when the regulations say, well, it's illegal now to do what we're doing, this has to be addressed. And we need to know these things in the work group and task force so that we can facilitate how to do it properly. It helps when we're there in person. We've talked in person with our Hungarian colleagues who are also here, both UIPM and from our community. We're facilitating a solution in Hungary. We're doing it in Lithuania. And being there helps. Knowing people helps. And this is the important thing about being human. We communicate better like this, right? A text threads is going to get crazy and nuts things are going to happen. But when we can actually talk about it, and the meetings are like this, they're very friendly. Everyone wants to do the same thing. We learned very quickly that when we were voicing concerns in the task force with task force members, they were exactly the concerns we had, exactly the same concerns. So we immediately found common ground, and that's why we now have so many common members on the groups, because we're all trying to do the same thing, all of us. At national governing body level, though, it might not be the case. And I think Andrew from Malaysia wants to voice something.
Can we just Costa Rica the hand up?
Will there always be 2 world championships, or maybe would there be like just one in the future? Like, is there a possibility to like make one instead of having 2, or is it always gonna be 2?
Well, that's a good question. The ideal scenario for the important events is to unify them so that there's one. So there's no dual events. However, as sports get bigger, you tend to break them down a lot more, so that you would have something like Youth World Championships, Senior World Championships, Masters World Championships, Age Group World Championships, Elite World Championships, and also by discipline. So we already do it actually. We already have 100-meter World Series, 100-meter World Series final. That can be its own thing. It is its own thing already. Do people still do it in this event? Yes, because people love the event. Everyone wants to do the 100, it seems, everywhere. So yeah, we do it everywhere. But unification means that we synchronize the calendars and we unify the events where it makes sense and differentiate them so they're not doing the same things in at the same time, or even the same things at all. We've seen this in OCR a lot. The OCR World Championships was a pretty dominant event until we came along. Now it doesn't really exist anymore. They weren't very happy about that. Spartan Race has world champs. They've had many world champs, but we're also unifying with them. So this process takes a while. We've been on this road with Spartan since the start. And now we are unifying events. We do have unified events with Spartan Race. Our World Series final is their world champs. So we are doing it. And it's the same with UIPM. UIPM has to bring forward events. Our job is to now synchronize, unify, and make them best for everyone.
I expressed my concern before, so I don't go again into it. But
Mara?
okay.
I'm going to have
I expressed my concern before, so I'm not going to repeat them. What I want to add is that I'm in favor of this course, this path, but we need to have what could be called a plan. With a plan, I mean deadline, timeline, and the production of and the presentation of precise document. Because this document that was proposed, it's something like I'm going to have a dinner at Rob's house, but it's not that Rob told me come to dinner to my house. So these documents say UEPM will create committee and blah 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 and so on. It's not UEPM that stands here and say I will create committee and blah blah blah. Okay, this makes a big difference to me. This does not mean that this committee and so on will not be real in the future. Of course, I mean, I trust the work of Ian and James and Stefano and so on, but these are my concern for the future that need to be part of the very detailed plan with timeline. So by when all this will be created, for instance. So if there's something, and this document will be voted, will be voted by us, will also be voted by UIPM board or signed by Rob or by Alex, because if it is as a contract, it's a double, because Rob told me, I'm not here to sell anything, okay? So maybe he's here to buy something. Do we want to sell us?
Mara, complete alignment. My background, for anyone who doesn't know, is I worked client service in a marketing agency. So I've worked with big global brands, Nike, Volvo Cars, Rolls-Royce, very big global brands. And ultimately, as an agency, you put in place a contract, and that contract was gold when there was ever a query about work and we want this website being built. That contract is critical. And I do agree, we need some level of binding agreement. And it may end up being the next statutes in 2026 for UIPM that we get that final clarity of what the future looks. It may be all we could have as agreement, but I wouldn't go to our members of British Obstacle Sports and ask for their vote, because we've been quite open. We had our AGM last week, and we voted something similar, not exactly the same, but something similar, and our members voted in favour. But we agreed that we would go back to our British Obstacle Sports members if there was going to be a dissolution of World Obstacle, because it's such an important thing. We should involve our members. So for me, the next step, and again, client service, delivery, project management hat, is we need the plan, we need the timeline. And my commitment as chair is to work weekly pretty much with the team and present back to the national federations what we're doing. But we do need that, because we had 2024. 2024 was we need the plan. We haven't really developed as far forward as we'd like. We've got a bit more detail now, but really that's happened in the last 2 or 3 months. So we've got to continue this pace and present back. That's why I suggested before the end of the year we all meet again as national federations, and I'm happy to share something in October with a bit more of a timeline that relates to that.
That's it from Andrew. Andrew, you've been very patient.
Yeah, it's okay. Sorry. Okay. Actually, my question pertains to this. Yeah. as you all know, every 2 years we do have our Southeast Asia Games, and this year it will be done in Thailand. However, this year for Thailand, we do not have OCR. However, modern pentathlon will be featuring during the games. I mentioned this before that for the past 2 years, I've been talking to Olympic Council with regards to having OCR to be part of the SEA Games, which Malaysia will be hosting in the next 2 years, right? However, I got a letter from our Olympic Council stating that there is some confusion right now whether who is the one that's going to host this, right? Because for the past 2 years, when we're talking to them, it's basically OCR is the one that's going to host OCR for the SEA Games. But since the memo came out from UIPM, I think earlier this year, they are not that sure that who is the one who's actually going to host it, whether it's us or Modern Pentathlon Malaysia. That being said, even if it's Modern Pentathlon Malaysia, our Olympic Council is not sure they want to let them host because they are really not stable. There's a lot of issues going on over here with Modern Pentathlon in Malaysia. So I think the question here would be then, how then do we proceed with this? And how do I need to convince my Olympic Council that we will be hosting OCR for the SEA Games in 2027?
Okay, just for some background, in 2019 and 2023, the obstacle federations driven by Al Agra and the Confederation was putting on the medal events in the Southeast Asia Games for obstacle, which is recognized by the International Olympic Committee. It's kind of like a regional Olympics, like European Games or Pan Am Games. So the obstacle organizations have been doing that, primarily driven out of the Philippines, which is a full Olympic member in the Philippines and of the National Sporting Authority, which is why you see the Filipino team everywhere, because they are funded. And those from the Philippines in the room are in extremely good shape because they are funded to send teams, develop athletes, create all sorts of stuff. And some people here have been to the Philippines and seen it. You can see the results. They have had dominated 100 meters for about 6 years. And that's a result of being a recognized sport. You have resources and it's really good for the sport. So to Andrew's point, he is now in a situation in Malaysia where they are recognized by their government, the Ministry for Sport, so they get the money. The OCR Federation gets the money. The Pentathlon Federation is recognized not by the Ministry for Sport, but by the National Olympic Committee. Now there's a conflict. So this is where the task group and it's actually mainly the task force, I think, in this case, gets to assist Andrew and their organization to see how we can facilitate a solution. This is way more complex than most of you have to deal with because most of you do not have, well, actually Israel has full recognition, so they're in a great situation. But most of you don't have that. But it is not it's not common, but there are situations like Andrew's that need to be addressed. And this is the job of these groups. And this is the starting point. Here's what happens if we vote no. We can't continue the process. It's basically, we're not even going to try. We're just going to give up. That's the outcome of not voting yes. And I think we should vote. So let's start with the online votes. I'll go through the countries. Do you want to write them down? I'm just going to read them off the chat. All right, so on the chat we have Costa Rica, yes. Peru, yes. Norway, yes. Chile, yes. Venezuela, yes. Argentina, yes. Oh, so sorry. Argentina, yes. There's a bunch of countries in adventure racing. I don't think we can count that as a yes vote. But all adventure racing countries voted yes, mostly because they're not actually federations. That's not true. Malaysia is. But that's also in conflict with OCR. So let's leave that alone. Japan, yes. Brazil, yes. India, yes. Nigeria, yes. Malaysia, yes. Malta, yes. Ireland, yes. Sorry.
Nigeria.
Malaysia, yes. Malta, yes. Ireland, yes. Portugal, yes. That was it.
Okay.
That's online.
In the room.
Okay, in the room. Let's go by country. Do you want to just read them and then?
GB? Yep. Canada?
Yes.
Italy?
I think Mara said yes before.
We can wait for now.
Yeah.
Israel? Germany? Greece?
Yes.
Netherlands?
Yes.
Belgium? Finland? Hungary?
Oh, we have Iran, yes, as well online. Iran.
We just take that as an abstain.
Yeah, it might be mute, so it's a mistake.
That was Hungary abstain.
Yeah.
France? Yes, sir. Come back to Italy?
We're voting? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes or no to the document?
Yes.
I vote yes.
New Zealand?
Yes.
Philippines? USA?
And yes.
No.
Well, there's 3 organizations. Okay, abstain US because there's actually 3.
Who's the voting member?
They're already committee of the.
Sweden? No, I don't think that's the case, is it? You're saying as the local championship, do they not vote? I think you should vote.
Yes. Yeah, you vote. As the organization, the Swedish Athletics. You can abstain if you want it, or you can, up to you.
I mean, what could make it problematic from our side is I believe that the IPM only accepts one member federation for each country. We already have one. So I think that give it a no vote at this point.
Makes sense.
Because we are not a member federation.
Well, yeah, you can vote from a world obstacle perspective, but I appreciate the no given the situation. Yeah. Spain?
Yes.
Switzerland?
Yes.
Denmark?
We go with Germany.
Costa Rica? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, voted as well. Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Lithuania? Estonia?
Yes.
Is there anyone in the room I haven't called out? Country? Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I've got all the notes. Yeah, 3 no votes and I think 2 abstains.
Okay. Thank you. We have results, but we'll tabulate them. It's 3 no votes, 2 abstains. Everyone else, yes.
Just my commitment as chair is to keep working in the best interests of our sport. We as British Obstacle Sports won't vote in favour of dissolution if I'm personally, well, it will be a vote for our members as well, but I won't go to our members unless I feel comfortable. That's my commitment. And feel free to reach out to me with any feedback, concerns now or in the future as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I'd really like to thank our colleagues from, first of all, Swedish Athletics for hosting the most incredible event we've had yet. And this is our 10th in Europe, so we're pretty happy. And our colleagues from UIPM who, to Maro's point, are coming to our party, being friendly and being collaborative and assisting with the opportunities that we now face. So not least of all, probably most of all of you guys, we've been on this journey for a long time now. And it's you've put in an immense amount of work, and you've all spent money doing it. So this is not unnoticed by anyone. It's blood, sweat, tears, money, but most of all, a lot of joy because we love this stuff. And we want to keep this stuff just as good as it is and better. And I think that's the whole point, right? We just want to do this and just keep doing it better and do more of it. And if we achieve that, we're good. So thank you. And with that, That's the end of the formal proceedings. If you want to have a chat, sit down, drink, that would be great. Thank you, everyone. Oh, hello. I have one more person who might vote, so just hang on. Okay, Venezuela. Hola, buenos días. Oh, yes, yeah.
Just said that. Change the numbers. Well, it's like discussing it. Said you don't want to discuss it anymore. And I was quite like to go and
So basically, I'll give you the very first.
Normally, when we
Well, it's like you saying, well, yeah, I mean, if you want to see the detail, it's all there. It's tens of rounds. I do like that. I've spent a million dollars. Where am I going? So like profit and loss is
But anyway, yeah,
we don't we never
depends on inside, even just.
I see events like this. Long after. Well, it's not exactly a fund. There is no but
I go back and I'm.
what side is it? Actually, I think most national federations, most national federations agree. Most national federations. I mean, still. Depends on I'm going to a a lot of time. I'm reading. So I don't second. I read stuff. Reading.
Like, no. My God.
So valuable. Most people go, you must get it. Because otherwise, why don't you? Effectively, back because it's not much better use. That's the key now. Because this was dangerous question exactly was. Dangerous question is about. I do work. I can't work in the union. That's why you see during smaller budget, that's the email we do the same thing. You guys are doing it. Yeah, no, that's how you make something big. Reason that thing but the way you build it, I think that's a catch from then and that's why the integration is because should be 16 integration now there's truly and it works in various places. It's an interesting scenario with Sweden because they are part of and the sun is exactly. That's what we want to do. The Nova begins include curriculum. It doesn't look there on the concept one. But there is a solution. That's the same. No matter which way you start, it's absolutely. We have lots of all these have to be
It's not, one of the reasons. And national, and sometimes it's huge. Very much. I mean, there's usually.
Hey, Mr. Adamson, still on?
I'm gonna turn it.